ladies. We just want to welcome you to our very first She Table Talk. Yay!
Exciting!
It has felt like forever and a day that we have just gotten together and talked about whatever is going on in our hearts and our minds. And this season, with our entire theme being living letters and living lives of intentionality, we have some really, really incredible women and interesting conversations coming your way. And so we just want to invite you to the table with us and to be a part of this conversation. We want to encourage you, take what we're talking about here and talk about it with your friends. We want to encourage you to sit down, invite women into your homes, and start having just that connection, that friendship that we haven't had in so long. It's one thing to be over like a Zoom call. It's a whole nother situation and feeling when you're actually, looking in someone's eyes. You are reading their body language, that you can, laugh with one another. You can cry with one another. I don't know about y'all, but I've missed this.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So my name is Lindsay. If any of you don't know who I am, my name is Lindsay. I said that already. Okay.
I'm Linda Kay.
I'm Sophie Young.
And I'm Laura Mitchell.
And we are going to talk specifically today about living single intentionally and thriving. At the end of this conversation, really the purpose is to show how living single is something that can be celebrated, that you can thrive during that season. And so when Laura and I were talking out we want to talk with some single ladies. I feel like I need that song just come on. Yes. And one specifically that we know, you guys exude what it means to be single and thriving. You really do. I got married really, really young, so my singleness lasted 2.5 seconds. And so I didn't get to have all that thriving in my life, okay? And so when I look at y'all, I'm like, okay, these girls have got it going on. I love seeing you guys live your lives out. Removing the stigma that comes with that singleness equals loneliness. And so what's interesting is that technically we are single our entire lives until we reach the age of dating. And before then you're not lonely, you find connection and it's not until you get into those years that it's like society and culture dubs singleness as loneliness and you need to hurry up and find somebody. And it's like, hold up, that's such a change in mentality because I've lived my whole life up until this point single technically, So how have these single years felt for you and how do you combat partnering with that type of mentality that I'm single, that means therefore I must be lonely, Mm-hmm. So I guess it's a twofold question. What does this season look like for you and how do you intentionally combat not partnering with that type of mentality?
Yeah. I'll go. Yeah. So I think a lot of it is just realizing first, like you said, singleness is not negative. Being single is not negative. And a lot of the times when we get to that age of being able to date and walk that out, dating does not make us whole. We're coming into any relationship, if it's family, friendship, dating, we should be coming into that as a whole person. And so for me, that was what I had to combat was there's this stigma in society of to be whole, you have to be in a romantic relationship or you have to be married or you have to be dating. And that's just not truth. It's honestly the opposite. If I'm not coming into relationship whole myself, knowing who I am, as a Christian, as a woman, as whatever that is, then I'm already bringing not a great foundation into it, So for me, that's the huge part of it was realizing that singleness did not mean loneliness. It meant I find intentionality in it and recognizing the community I have, recognizing the friendships I have, recognizing the sisterhood I have, and that those can be just as intimate and important as finding someone to date or to marry and walking that out. So
And that's a great point, too, that you said, you go into a relationship as a whole person.
Right.
And the singleness stage of your life is when God is developing and making you into that whole person.
Yeah.
So you have to have that stage. You have to. And it's also very interesting that we do live, we grow up and we are single.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, something inside of us shifts. And then we are, we desire our person or, and we're suddenly, where we were content, we aren't anymore.
Right.
Which is so interesting. And so, first of all, I think that desire, that was placed there by God, and it is a good thing to want our person or, to be in that relationship. But second of all, if we've gone our entire lives single, we were content, and then all of a sudden something shifts within us. It's not, most of the time, it's not our situation that's changing. It's something within us internally. And so, maybe if you are feeling lonely in that season, maybe that just shifted for you and you feel lonely. It's not necessarily, that you are alone. You're not alone. And maybe you're just pursuing the wrong relationship. I love what you said about, finding your friends and realizing who you have all around you. We all have someone. We have our family. We have friends. And I know that's been definitely in this season for me. I'm spending tons of time with my family, being intentional with that time. And also reaching out to people for community and friendships. And that's so valuable.
Yeah. I always, there's always been like this little small part of me, and y'all hear me, I love being married. I love my husband. We met, technically, we've known each other since we were in middle school, okay? And we started dating when we were in high school. So we never really got that, I say never really, we did not get, those early young adult single years. And so there's always been this part of me that has always really loved and admired and valued from afar that single life and watching people thrive in it, because being on the other side of what I think the lie tells single women, and that's that the grass is greener on the other side. Being on the other side and looking at that single life, I could there's this part of me that's like, hold on, that is such an incredible opportunity that you get, that you have being on this side of the grass, and seeing like, man, how incredible. As much as I value that I've grown up, that my husband and I have grown up together, I can see the value in having that time alone to be able to discover and to grow who you are by yourself, just you and the Lord. It's such a time frame. I'm like, man, what a lie employee of the enemy and society that says, that you have less than,
Right. Or that you're not good enough, or there must be something wrong with you, or I'm not pretty or attractive enough.
Or you need to hurry up this timeline, rush things.
I know I got into a relationship with Jamin around my husband now, in that like 20, 21, 22, 20, we got married at 23. So there was a season where like all my friends were getting married. Have you experienced that?
Yeah.
And then you're still single and you're like, wait a minute, what is going on? Like, when is it ever going to be my turn? And I remember feeling some of that during those early years of our singlehood. But I also remember, I look back now, and that was absolutely some of the most developing years of my life, like of opportunities that I got to develop gifts. I got to learn how to write and how to teach a class and how to serve in my community and support our church and really just put my whole life into it. So are there like giftings or things that you've been able to do during this time or season that you think like, wow, if I wouldn't have had that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do this or that, and you can actually see the value in it? Or you have struggled with seeing the value in it at times.
I 100% see the value in it. I'm just coming out of, just going back to, again, like entering into that dating season. So kind of that college age time, like, and growing up in Christian culture. I grew up in church, but that was really where my faith had to become my own. And so these things that were spoken over me, like what does it mean to be a Christian? What does it look like? Were instilled in me, but living them out. Like, who am I? You know, more than just being a Christian title, but being a daughter of God, being called, you know, all the things, the authority of an identity in Christ, I think is really what I had to wrestle with more than anything else. But just like in college, having opportunity, I think just taking hold of that opportunity to travel, to do mission work, to really ask God pointedly and have time, you know, have time and space to go, who am I to you? What do you want in my life? How do you want to season me in this season? Because, you know, I didn't know, you know, I had what the world was telling me a woman was, or what a student was, or what a daughter was, but really taking it back to him and having the time to hear him and walk it out and just kind of almost dip your toes in the water, you know, and figure it out. So yeah, I would say that was a very valuable time.
I can say the same thing. I've seen the value in spending time with my family.
Yeah.
I know that once you get married, I mean, your family's there, but not in the same way as when you're growing up. And so I value and I cherish the time that I have with my family and my siblings. And it's so valuable because I want a family like that one day. I want a family like mine.
Yeah.
And so that's been huge in this time.
I love that.
So, just in kind of wrapping this up, I do want to hear from you, Linda Kay, because you have a very unique scenario, and you were married, you guys adopted, and then you went through a divorce.
Yeah.
And so singleness, you're going back into singleness.
Yeah.
You went through like where the phase where Sophie is, and then you went about the usual timeline, and it didn't go the way that you thought it was going to, and you've gone back into that life of singleness. What has that looked like for you of being intentional and knowing, okay, Lord, I trust you, but I know I'm going to have to lean into you in now being a single mom, you know, which is totally different from being like a young single, just you, yourself, and yourself. Yeah. What does that look like for you? And what have you had to do intentionally to make sure that you keep yourself aligned, your mentality aligned just with the Lord, and not succumbing to the pitfalls of what the world could even dub, you know, a single mom or that type of scenario as?
So yeah, coming back into singlehood with a daughter, really that defining moment of me, my lights on moment, as I called it, was realizing I saw the worth and value in my daughter, and in that place and time in my life, I no longer saw that in myself. And so where I had been in this season of singleness in college, where I was finding who I was and understanding who I was in Christ and all those things, for me, my marriage was the opposite of that. And so it really was that mindset of, I'm not whole unless I have someone else. I'm not whole unless I do this. And it just completely drained every ounce of self-worth I had and value I had. And so, but I could see that in my child. And so that really was my starting point of like, I cannot continue walking out these patterns that I found myself in. Like, I must become whole. And I had no clue how. Like, I really just said to God, like, I will not do this. Like, I don't want to be the divorced woman. I don't want to be the single mom and all the things and expectations that society says come with that. Like, I just refused. And that sounds really like empowering on this side of it, but it was horribly hard in the moment. Just very, very hard. I didn't come from a broken home. I didn't come from divorce. I didn't know what that felt like. And really having to carry the grief of a daughter along with that, but just wanting so much more for her and believing it was possible. So for me, again, it just comes back to that word wholeness. Like, I couldn't be intentional intentionality is doing something on purpose. Intentionality is doing something consciously, doing something with awareness. And that's what I did. Like, I'm going to not only be single well, but I need to get back to the foundation of who God said as I am, you know, like, and ask, that's just what I did, was ask him, like, who do you say I am? And I'm going to follow after that. I'm going to listen to your voice, not what the family court system says, not what society says, not what Instagram says. I'm asking you, God, what are you saying I'm capable of? What are you saying I'm capable of as a mother, as a single person? I just basically tell God that, God, I'm not dating, I'm not doing this until I am whole and I'm the person that you want me to be. Because it was no longer just about myself, it was about this child, that I am now becoming a walking, living testimony of what is not only possible, but what was intended. Like, it's just who we're supposed to be. I didn't have to be any title besides what God had called me to be. And I wanted that freedom for her as well. So
I love just the selflessness in that. That to me is, like, when I hear what you're saying, I see that what fueled your intentionality was choosing to be selfless for your daughter and recognizing I've got someone else who's looking up to me right now. And so this narrative actually is so much bigger than just me.
Absolutely.
You know? And I love that. Like, that could just make me cry. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all so much for just talking with us and just being honest and open. And we just totally, like, commend you. Y'all are amazing. And ladies, thank you so much for just joining us and being a part of our conversation. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.